Welcome, everybody, to our episode on emotional health, and we're going to be focusing on courage. And I tell you, I have been so excited about sharing this information today that as the day moved on, I just got more and more excited. And if you haven't noticed or figured out at this point, I absolutely love empowering people through education to take charge of their health. And when it comes in with emotions tied with health, that to me is like icing on the cake. So here we go. So I want to talk about emotions and your body. And for those of you that aren't familiar, these references are going to come from an amazing book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And so those of you that have come in and visited me, often you find me look at and talk about, all right, so you're hurting here, maybe on your back. And so I'm going to ask and be looking at other thoughts, other questions, because emotions get stored in certain areas of the body. For instance, the back. We've got three different areas of the back. If we're looking at the upper back and it's aching, it can actually tie to feeling unsupported or burdened emotionally. The middle part of your back can talk about lacking self-support, whereas lower can be feeling unsupported financially. And like I said, all these come from a book written by Carol Trueman, and there's others. Louise Hay was well known, and she was one of those first ones that comes out with this information. So I've always talked about that we heal on three levels: physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and all three need to be involved. So when we're looking at the physical part, I also want to look at the emotional part. Jaw issues. Think about this: inability to express how you feel. There were so many times that, as in the past, when I would literally just clench my jaw because of just not feeling comfortable speaking out and sharing how I felt. And if you can even imagine that with me, that was so far in the past. But I know that if I ever feel like I have to bite my tongue, or I find that with someone, that's one of the first things I start talking about is inability. It's a person having challenges with expressing who they are. Kidneys, we're talking about things like fear or emotional confusion. In kidneys, people will come and see me, and maybe they got their lower back's hurting, and that's what they're thinking, or they're thinking kidneys, but it could also be adrenals. There's so much. And so we can get in, and in these books, we can look up and kind of get an idea of maybe what's actually going on. Liver can tie with anger. I find that a lot. In fact, when people get in and work with that, or we work with the detoxing, things like that, they may get a lot of heat coming out of their liver. And they may all of a sudden find that they're feeling angry and they're not understanding why. Well, the liver can store that emotion of anger. Lungs, grief is one of the emotions that can tie in with this. And that's fairly common, and people are aware of that, but it also can go with life feeling monotonous. And there are other emotions besides these ones I've got listed here, but these are just a couple ones to give you ideas. It's so much bigger than just the organ itself. And let's look at shoulders. Think about shoulders when we get these aching. We can look at lacking in courage or carrying stressful responsibilities. Think about shouldering the load in life. And this kind of makes sense. So how many of you have heard of like something galls them? So that can go back to the gallbladder, and we're thinking about bitterness. And so again, emotions play a huge role. And this is where we're going to kind of take this and leap with this idea. And like I said, this comes directly out of this book, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And I thought this was a phenomenal quote out of the book here, saying it's estimated that 90% of all physical problems have psychological roots. Did you guys catch how big of a percentage that is? 90%. It says this may sound like a gross exaggeration. In fact, it's probably conservative. A growing body of evidence indicates that virtually every ill, you guys, that can befall the body, from acne to arthritis, headaches to heart disease, cold sores to cancer, is influenced, for better or worse, by our emotions. So again, let's be thinking about our reference to our trees. If we have a good, healthy foundation with those roots, we can stand and weather the storms as they come through much more easily than the tree that's like there on the other side. We've got a tree there, but it can't really weather the storm. It's going to be more apt to snap and break. So think about it that way. So this is another book that I like and reference a lot. It is called Adaptogens, Herbs for Strength, Stamina, Stress Relief. I love this book, but I wanted to focus specifically on adaptogens and the mind-body connection, because as we've talked about, Soul Naturals' signature and how it was so cutting edge and why it jumped out at so many of us who are practitioners is the fact that it does support this mind-body connection, which has resulted in us being able to do less or do more with less. And another quote from here, they're talking about adaptogens have a chemical influence on both the body and the mind. They have the ability to regulate and balance the intricate connections between the brain and the nervous system. And remember how we're always talking about homeostasis and bringing the body into balance. If we are in balance, again, like that good tree with a good foundation, we can deal with what is thrown our ways. The end result is they say for a fact that it plays a major role in both emotional and physical health. Adaptogens is what they're referring to. So absolutely key. So as we're coming in and looking at emotional health, this is why I want to kind of lay the groundwork here with where we're moving and going with this. So I am going to have, so what I've asked Greg Halliday here, who's the founder and president of Soul Naturals, is to touch a little bit on why it was important to add the Soul Compass blends to our lineup, because we already had such a powerful lineup of products. So I'm going to stop my screen share here and give some controls to Greg here. There we go. There you go. All right, Greg, you can take it away.
Thank you. And would you like me to also mention a word or two about Courage? Did I see that right? The Courage blend?
Yes, Courage is what we're targeting tonight.
We're going to target. Okay, yeah, so I'd love to. Let's see, I've got just a couple of slides and I can kind of hopefully build my comments around that. Hopefully you can see that okay. This was a slide that Jennifer Pressimone put together. I think everybody here probably knows Jennifer. If you're newer or a first time, Jennifer is the formulator of the Soul Essentials blends. The 4 undiluted blends that come in smaller bottles, that come in the little 5 milliliter bottles, are what Valerie was referring to. We've had since nearly the beginning of Soul, within the first few months. And then we added 4 more after these, well, about 7 years later, 6, 7 years later. They're called Compass blends because what Jennifer, her entire focus really is this holistic approach to healing through essential oils, and spending her time, I think, in great depth with what Valerie was just teaching us, and looking at all those connections, and then particularly just looking at which oils have what type of an influence over a group of people. So in general, but also then learning from many, many years of specifically working with others in oils and what she sees change. And Jennifer loved from the start, many of you probably know this, but she loved the fact that every Soul product is formulated both for physical and emotional. We call it sort of that mind and the body nutrition. They both can be influenced. Because of what Valerie said, I absolutely 100% believe is true, that every physical situation is influenced in one way or another. Every single one. I'm a believer of that the 90%, 100%, they're all influenced one way or another. We can influence for good the physical, let's say, challenges that we might have, or we can make them worse, or we can even bring some on. And so it's really useful to study this. So why did Jennifer want to add, and why did we want to add these Compass blends? Really because in looking at what's happening today, what's happening in society today, how people are reacting and responding to things, she felt there were some more oils that were needed, just very, very plainly. She also wanted to build a ready-to-use group that in these roll-ons, they're just ready to go. I don't have to dilute them. I don't have to put them in carriers that are in a good, high-quality formula of carriers. Most often, the carriers that are the most popular are the most inexpensive that we'll find out there for ready-to-use products like these. I can tell you that this one is not the carriers that asked for and that Blake sourced are very high-end carriers. That makes a difference. We believe everything that touches your skin and that is absorbed in, or that we bring inside us and is absorbed throughout the body, makes a difference. And we want to be a positive difference always in everything that we offer, both for ourselves and for everyone else. So Jennifer wanted to add something that had a good quality carrier. She wanted to bring some oils that she felt were needed right now, in our time. They're topical, and it's interesting because I look at them now, and then you look at what's happened this past year and these last few months, and just having them there is definitely some great foresight by her. So courage was something that Valerie asked me to just say a word or two about. It's one of the 4. The Compass blends are amazing because what they are is pre-designed combinations of the 4 key soul essentials: balance, calm, lift, and clarify. They're pre-proportioned to deal with specific issues. I mean, that's the best way that I know how to say it. There are a lot of issues in there. It's pretty broad, but they are specific. If she's got them written in here, it's because she's dealt with those particular issues with these very oils in these combinations, or combinations very similar, and dealt with it for years and seen lots of success. So we're kind of getting many years of a lot of history and a lot of knowledge and background. They are really they're gems. And so that's why I think we can, right off the bat, you can see so many changes with them. So Soul Courage, you can see, if you look at the label, there's always a little bar, and at the bottom of the slides, she gives you the proportions. So notice this green line down here, it's about 3/4 of it, and then the blue line's about 1/4. So it's about that much balance of this Soul Essentials balance, undiluted formula that we've always had, and about that much calm. But what she's done, remembering what I mentioned about her wanting to add a few very key oils, she's added something to each of those. So it isn't just Soul Essentials balance and calm in combination. As you can see on the slide, she's added one thing to the balance formula, which is Cedar Atlas. And there were very specific reasons that she added. And then to the calm, she's added ginger. And all that it does with that part of that tie-in to the axis that Valerie was referencing, straight through from digestion and intestinal, and that whole part through the rest of the nervous system. So she has a couple of words mentioned on this slide, but I want to show you the next slide. That's really what I wanted to share, because I love what she's done. If you've seen these before, they're just a great reference to go back and refresh. I love them. Here are the physical additions that she felt were bigger issues than they've ever been, and that we can make a difference with. So in the case of physical, more help with the kidneys, more help with irritable bowel, so that unpredictable, right? Sometimes it's stopped up, sometimes it's too loose. More antiviral and antifungal help. So it's interesting, again, think of the last few months, right? That's beefed up with the Cedar Atlas. The issue of parasites, fibromyalgia, and things like Jock Inch, which are fungal related, right? Valerie could tell you much more about those than I can. And PMS. These are the targets that she had for this particular, let's call it like a souped up, a turbocharged essential oil formula. Mentally, anything to do with head issues, okay? Sleep issues, stress, nightmares in particular, just focused thinking, how easy it is for us to recall and bring to the forefront of our minds all those measures of mental performance. Learning new things, to me, when Jennifer teaches it, is more than I can. It's more about how much effort is it for me? How easily do I learn new things? And then now the emotional, dealing with fear and insecurity, feeling disconnected and feeling defeated. Any issue where I feel like I want more personal strength, I want more willpower. I mean, I love these, and I think of right now, I don't know if this is why you picked it, Valerie, or I know it's all part of your plan and your training. But boy, when I look at courage right now, it's the one thing I want to say. As we look around, where we have a situation where things are being made to appear and sometimes being worked up into much worse than what they need to be and what they really are. And courage and stability and personal strength and all the things that this blend gives us. Boy, I wish everybody had some of that they could put on pressure points, that we could, every home in America. I just wish, because I know good things would happen. There would be some better thinking. And that's not meant to be a criticism. That's just, I think, dynamics of mass, like a mass situation. So I'm super grateful for this. It always has great uses, but especially right now. And I don't know, Valerie, if you'd like to add comments to that, but that's just kind of what I had for the courage today.
That's perfect. I do have some stuff I'm going to be adding here later on.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
I will stop sharing my screen for you.
There we go. All right, so get the computer convinced that it's my turn now. There we go. All right, so there we go. All right. So, that was perfect what Greg just brought in, because I specifically wanted to target some of the physical aspect. There's always gifts to whatever issue someone's dealing with, gifts to your wound, a positive side to the negative side. And with everything we were going through with Troy, there was a point in particular at the beginning where it would take us literally almost 3 hours to be able to get him out of bed, because the pain was so intense. Even just moving, barely flinching was causing intense pain that would almost shut him down. And so he couldn't move that right leg. And I got to thinking, I thought, wow, he has had so much pain here with this that he's almost knee jerking to the pain his mentally is before he even goes to move. So it's like shutting him down. I thought, he needs courage to be able to move. So I grabbed the courage roll-on, and literally I took and rolled it all over his entire right leg from his hip down, and he's 6'5", so that's using a lot of courage. And then I grabbed the AC cream, because the arnica in there works with trauma, and coated that on his leg. And all of a sudden he started being able to move. That was truly a turning point to allow him to be able to get up out of bed for something that went from a 3-hour process to 15 minutes or so. And it just started addressing that whole emotional and mental component tied with it. So thinking about those names, how to use them based off of that. And like Greg talked about, the basics and the different oils that are in these, just outstanding. So we've been working and focusing on our tree of dis-ease, and looking at what makes a good foundation. And I thought, Jennifer uses the words or the idea saying with the Courage Compass blend, thinking of, I am courageous. I allow myself to be guided by courage and not fear. So let's look at these bottom of these roots. Wouldn't that be beneficial when we're dealing with mental or emotional stress? And like Greg said, everybody has been affected by what's going on with all the world and national and world events right now. Well, even nutritional deficiencies. Being courageous to move forward through the health issues. Think about putting that over your stomach, to having the faith and the courage to do the digestion. Physical trauma, like I just talked about with Troy, it was outstanding for that. Or even toxic overload. So just listen to the name and think about the courage to move through an area. And you don't have to necessarily put it on that specific body part. The bottoms of the feet, you can roll these on the bottoms of the feet, or use the wrist, but on the bottom of the feet, it's going to affect everywhere in the body. And the body is smart, guys. It will take it exactly where it needs to go. So we have today's testimonies. I actually had 2 of them that were sent in because neither one of these people could be on tonight, but we had just such outstanding stories. And this is Margot, and I wanted to let her share with us.
Hello, good evening all. My name is Margot Williams. I'm sorry I couldn't be to the live Zoom meeting, but I am about now, probably teaching a yoga class. So I wanted to let you guys know my experience with the Soul Courage oil blend. When I first found Valerie, I was in desperate need of some intervention. I had severe anxiety, severe insomnia. I was having panic attacks all the time, so much to where I didn't realize I was having panic attacks because I had never experienced that before. I had a other long list of all these crazy things that I was experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Pain in my body, dizziness. There was a point in time where it was so bad where I couldn't walk for 5 days. And I will be honest, it's obviously taken me quite a bit more soul products than just the Soul Courage, but I do want to get to the fact that Soul Courage, at that time when I was experiencing all of this extreme physiological anxiety, it wasn't just in my head or somebody telling me to calm down. It was an actual chemical reaction that my body was outwardly saying something is wrong. I would put it on, Valerie would tell me to put it on my wrists and over my heart, and immediately I would just start to come back down to a feeling of safety and groundedness. And there, for the first few months of my healing, I was very dependent upon Soul Courage until taking enough of the other soul products like the adaptogens and the Soul Megas and other things that helped get me back into homeostasis where I needed to be in health. It made a huge difference in helping my mind hang on to that positive change in order to allow my brain that headspace to continue healing, to keep going. So Soul Courage was a huge player in my healing. If I sat down and told you all the other things that I was going through, and you look at me today, you would not believe that I was that person. I didn't believe that I was that person. And I also just wanted to thank you really quick, Valerie, because without you, I would not be going off to teach yoga again. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do. Keep it up. And so much appreciation and love your way. Thank you.
So you guys can see why I was so excited about this, because when I literally first met Margot, she was in full-blown anxiety attack, just totally dissolving there on the floor in front of me. And so we reached out, did some Vital Mix with Renew and used the Courage, and as you see, game started changing. And our next person, you guys know.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm sad I'm not on the call with you live tonight because I know that I always learn so much from Valerie. So I can't wait to watch it when she posts it, either later tonight or tomorrow. So thanks, Valerie and Greg, for all you do, because I know that I learned so much from both of you guys. So anyway, when Valerie asked if anyone had an idea of what they could share about Courage Blend, I was kind of like, I don't really know. I use it a lot, but I didn't really think that I had a great story. But so anyway, she said, well, why don't you think about why do you use it and what emotional benefit do you get from it? So I was thinking about it and I thought, well, okay, I do tend to use it when I feel worry or stress, and I always put it over my kidneys and adrenals because I know that that is where emotional like fear and worry tend to go in your body. And so I will put it there, and I think probably it's more intuitive than what I realize, because I'll put it there but not necessarily immediately notice a difference, but I do know that it does work. And just to give you a great example of that, so last night is actually when it happened, but the reason I'm not on the call tonight is because tomorrow morning, Libby, my daughter, and I are heading out to Florida because we're moving her there to Orlando. And so we're going to head out in the morning. And I think that I got in bed last night and I got a little too much sun. And so I was kind of burnt. And I always keep the roller bottles right next to my bed. And I thought, oh, I should put a little bit of of the Courage blend on there because it had the balance category and the calm. And I thought, well, that's what I need. I need some balance and calm on that sunburn. And so I just rubbed it on there and just rubbed it on my chest, kind of over my heart and all the burn areas. And when I got in bed, immediately it was just like, whew, that feels so good. And I just felt really relaxed, and I didn't even realize it until today when I was starting to think through why I use the Courage blend. And I thought, okay, that is crazy. I think that there was probably a lot more fear, anxiety, and stress than I realized with Libby moving to Orlando. And so I think that the oils knew more about what my body needed than I was aware of, because I felt such a peace, and it was just so noticeable. And so today, when I was starting to think through why I use the Courage, it hit me. It's like, I needed that, because as you guys that have grown kids that have moved out, you know, it does take courage to let them go and fly. And I think that I was probably a little bit more stressed than I realized. And so I love how Jennifer has titled the different roll-ons, because courage and contentment and just the different ones, I think you can even grab that sometimes when you think that that's what you need. And so I love that you can take that and it does give you courage. And so I am going to be taking my Courage and my Comfort. I'm going to actually take all of them, but I'm going to be taking that Courage because I do think it takes courage to take your kid away and drop them off in a different state. So anyway, I love the oils. I think that they smell awesome and that they do give you so many benefits that you're not even really aware of. So have a great evening. I can't wait to listen to just the talk and learn everything that Valerie has to say. Thanks. Bye-bye.
So I think you guys are starting to see, and Tammy nailed it with thinking of the name and how to use it. She realized, oh, maybe I need some courage. And I've told a lot of my clients that if I would carry, and I do, I have all 4 of these blends in my purse so I can reach for them at the ready. It's kind of like a 911 kit, just having it always there. So I am a big believer in giving the body what it needs at that foundation, and that Bella Health package does phenomenal. For those of you guys who have been following along, you know about how the Vital helps support emotionally with dealing with stress, the Vertizymes, how it helps calms the stomach so that, you know, lots of people, when they're stressed emotionally, then their digestion will shut down and they don't eat can happen too, or they can't digest what they get. The Cinnamate, you know, we tend to, when we get emotionally distraught, eat things we shouldn't and reach for sugar or something like that. And the Cinnamate can help balance that. And the Probio IQ, because, you know, being able to think in times of stress are important. And again, we never know exactly what we're going to throw at it or what will be thrown at us. So being able to process that. I thought this was a fantastic quote in a way to end this. Healing takes courage, and we all have courage, even if we have to dig a little to find it. And what I think is that Courage Compass blend helps us to find it just that much easier and that much faster. And reaching for it and using it, you know, it can totally change how a situation plays out right at that moment. And right now, like Greg said, I think I think I would love to be able to just hand it out to everyone that I see on the street. I just think it could make all the difference. We are going to be following and doing all 4 of these blends. So this month, we're going to be looking at emotional health in some deep ways. So next week, we will be looking at the Confidence Compass blend and seeing how it works and supports. So as you saw, there is this group of 4 of these, and they all work so well together. So getting them in the set, they definitely do save the money that way. So that ends our topic. If anyone has any other thoughts or anything that they wanted to share, as you can tell, this is an exciting thing for me to share about. So it's hard to condense it just down to a little bit of it for time.
Valerie, can I add one quick thought?
Please do.
I think I would have added this but after listening to both of those Soul Speaks recordings. They both did such a great job of sharing, and congrats to them for the way they're managing their own health. But you just made me think, another reason why Jennifer and we were excited for the Compass is because we all need to, maybe is it safe to say we all would be well to look at the emotional side more than we do. Just look at it. And I love what you said, reach for the oil what I want, the confidence, the contentment, the courage.
Mhm.
I mean, that's why they're there. I'm like Tammy, I love the names that they chose, because we could all do that and we could just be that much happier, probably,
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you just take that moment and look at those names, and look at it and say, well, do I need to be comforted? Am I looking for contentment? Do I need some confidence? Do I need courage? Maybe you need all four of them. And I've seen that. I'd have people, sometimes they put like contentment on one wrist, confidence on another, comfort on one, and just roll it all the way around, using all four. So definitely don't be afraid to think outside the box. And again, the body is smart. It's going to use it where it needs it, and you don't have to be perfect in your application and knowing what to do. So, all right, fantastic. I wanted to thank everyone for joining on this week, and I look forward to sharing next week when we get to talk about some confidence. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.